And you're live.
Thank you, moderator. So this is the City of Norwalk Shellfish Commission meeting for May 5th. It is 7:18 p.m. Moderator or Telesco, has attendance been taken?
It has, I've done it.
Great, thank you, Bill. Approval of the minutes from the last meeting in April.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from April's meeting.
We have a second,
Second motion.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no opposed, unanimous.
Steve, let me just clarify this too. The new gentleman's first name is John, correct? Is that correct?
John, last name is pronounced Pagler, like
Page-
page in a book, L-E-R, Pagler, yeah.
Sorry
Look, we're
about
gonna
that,
co-
John.
No
We're
worries.
gonna call you John.
There you go. How about that?
All right, so the minutes we approved, you don't know what the minutes were, so we just approved the three that was there.
Yeah, I
There's-
didn't raise my hand for that, yeah.
Okay, that's good. We're good. All right.
So, yeah, so let's just lead off by welcoming John. If you'd like to intro yourself, the stage is yours, please, Commissioner.
Sure, thank you. So I live in Norwalk, obviously, Wilson Point. I've been a big fan of the waterways for many, many, many years. I'm a avid fisherman. I hail from Seattle. I've been here out on the East Coast for 30 years and 20 years. 20 years of that in New York City and 10 years out here, basically 10 years out here. I used to work for Diageo, major tax contributor to Norwalk, which has since moved to New York. When they made that move, I decided that I had enough and I wanted to get more involved in kind of public service. The property I bought in Wilson Point was kind of overrun with noxious weeds and invasive species. And I have some wetlands here, which I completely remediated to their natural state. So I now have both a freshwater and a saltwater marshland, which is quite beautiful. It's been a project of love for mine for a long time. So from that perspective, I'm an environmentalist, but I kind of consider myself to be a practical environmentalist. I kind of overlook those oyster beds right off of kind of Manresa, between Manresa and Tavern Island. So I'm very excited to be part of this organization.
Thanks. very
Welcome.
much. Yeah,
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you, John. Thank you so
Welcome.
much.
Welcome.
So pursuant to the agenda, and in the interest of Commissioner Modafari's schedule, we moved new business up to third. The first item on the agenda is a pier ramp dock combination. This is Mr. Hiltz for Mr. Cooling at 35 Rowayton Avenue. It is a 120-foot encroachment. It's my view that this needs a site inspection, given its size and its location there on Rowayton Beach. Since
Steve,
it's
do you
in the
mind if I
5 Mile
ask you-
River, it will come under the jurisdiction of, please, Please.
Is there an existing structure there now?
there is not.
Okay.
Actually, check that. At 35, there is. There's a smaller one. At Being Langton. So unlike most of what we deal with, this will come under the jurisdiction of the 5 Mile River Commission. In my view, as usual, I think this is one that needs a site inspection, especially with a tape measure. We need to see where that is with respect to the natural bed. It's getting out there quite a ways. They want to put a 30-foot boat. I think we need to take a look at it as we do almost everything.
Hey,
You
Steve,
want a motion?
Yeah,
does this
maybe-
look, this
yeah.
looks familiar?
Beautiful. And maybe a motion to table and
I make a motion to table with the inspection. schedule an inspection to go out there and look at it.
Second motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Okay, so be it. So look for this via email. We'll try to coordinate it with at least one member of the 5 Mile River Commission. I know one who'll gladly come over and help. I'll just try to organize it with him at a particularly good time. I've got some other things going on over there, so I'll maybe try to do it all in the same day.
Yeah, can we table this until the next meeting so that we have some time constraints on making sure that we can give this landowner review one way or the other?
I didn't follow that, John. Go ahead.
I just want to just make sure that we address it at the next meeting and we don't let it just languish.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be the intent to catch a low tide between now and then.
Perfect, perfect.
Yep, thank you. Next on the agenda is the discussion of a vote for a new chair.
I would like to step up and I'd like to make a nomination to Steve Bardish. Commissioner Steve Bardish I would like to have a vote to make him the chairperson of our committee.
I'd like to
Any
second that.
seconds?
I'll second that.
Well, thank you, guys.
Oh,
Discussion
any-
around this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? The motion carries. Thank you,
All right,
commissioners. I appreciate
You're
your
welcome.
trust. I appreciate your trust.
You've been an advisor before you were a commissioner, and we look forward to your leadership. I
Thank
do have another motion. I'd like to make a motion for Pete Johnson to be an advisory to our commission.
I'd like
there
to
a
second
second?
that.
Okay,
Any
any
discussion?
discussion?
Any around this item? Okay, hearing no discussion requests, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Okay, just sorry, if you don't mind, having no idea who this gentleman is, it didn't really make sense for, but just for my.
I'll tell you who he
Others
is.
are accepted, I'd be happy to hear what his story is.
Pete Johnson knows the shores of Norwalk more than anybody. He's been here his entire life. He was also the chairperson for this commission for a long period of time.
Good.
And he would be an asset to all of us. And also the asset he brings forth is the fact that he knows all the Clammers.
Yeah.
He knows all those guys, and he knows Norwalk. So he would be an asset to our committee. Of course, you realize as an advisor, he doesn't vote.
Yeah.
But he can advise us in any meeting and he'll attend the meetings.
Well, listen, I would love to meet him. If you want to forward him my email, it would be nice for me to break some bread with him at some point.
It sounds good, but we did have a vote and it was.
No,
passed.
I'm not, I let the vote happen just so that we could be like, that's fine, he's done, but it'd be nice to meet him
Okay.
at this point.
All right, that sounds good. We'll forward his email to you or yours to him. Okay,
Yeah, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thanks. And yeah, Commissioner Matafaro, your point is well taken. I mean, I think Pete may be one of the very few, maybe even the unique person in Norwalk outside of the industry who knows all of the industry. And with our loss of Captain Hop, just because of the computer issues since COVID, I think it's important that we have somebody of his ilk in that position.
I mean, what we usually at our meetings, we would have a lot of these guys show up. And the only one that's been showing up is Kramer. And he's been there on a regular basis. I didn't even think he's here tonight.
He is.
The rest of them do not join us because our meetings are not live. They're all Zoom. And hopefully that'll change in the near future. So Pete's going to do a good job in that position.
Well, to be honest with you, the reason I'm interested in meeting Pete is I'd like to meet these clammers too. I'd like to understand what their issues are. So that's why I thought it would be interesting for me to talk with him.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
So there are no other items on new business unless someone has something. We'll move on to public comment. Members of the public include Captain Kramer, and we have one attendee, Ms. Linnell Jones, who has her hand raised. Moderator, if you please recognize Ms. Jones.
You have the floor, Ms. Jones.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Oh, first I want to thank you. Thank you very much. Steve, I wanted to ask if you had any update about the Norwalk Yacht Club drain, and why not ask for an inspection, particularly now that you have John on your committee and Lori Jones at the Harbor Commission. Deep doesn't have a lot of people, but why not inspect? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. So I have this under old business, so if you just hang on maybe a few minutes. I had a discussion with Mr. Creighton, and I'll just give the little bit of news that I have. Captain Kramer, anything, sir?
Nope, I have nothing to say. I'm just here to listen.
Thank you so much, Tim. Treasurer's report. Obviously, things are up in the air with respect to the loss of Lieutenant Matera and Pete. So I'll just defer to Bill, if you have anything on the financials for us.
Sure, I checked in. There was no expenditures in April, so the balance remains the same as it was in March, which is $25,405.58.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
So number 6, the secretary's report, which would have been mine. I'll give no report. And on to the committee reports. Again, if you would, Bill, Department of Health.
Sure. Rainfall for the month of April was a total of 4.15 inches. Last year it was 3.41 inches. Historically, it is 4.22 inches. We had 2 closures, both due to rainfall, on April 7th and again on April 19th. And we had 1 bypass on April 19th. And that is all.
Thank you very much, sir. Just going through the list, I see no one from wastewater treatment. Water quality, Chairman Schnierlein is under the weather. We certainly expect him back next month. Permits for the public are on sale at Fisherman's World. Police, I do see Sergeant Lepak. Pete, if you would like to speak, sir.
Yes, hi, Steve, and good evening, commissioners. We've had limited patrols, little or no recreational clamming observed. We'll be stepping it up now in May once we start our seasonal Marine Division hours. Officer Silva was replaced by Officer Owen Lee. And in fact, we were up in Rhode Island today inspecting the progress on the city's newest police boat, which will come in hopefully by the end of this month. It's a 25-foot aluminum safe boat, which will replace the 2 existing ribs, which are 12 and 13 years old respectively. Owen and I will initiate patrols along the shoreline at Shady and Calf Pasture Beach, as well as the recreational areas throughout the islands. The one issue we might want to address is just a little more signage at the beach.
Thank you, Sergeant Lepak. Bill, you may have some news with respect to the signs.
Sure. About a month ago, I received a call from someone saying that the shellfish sign was in disrepair. So I contacted Ken Hughes with Parks and Rec, and he was kind enough to send some of his guys out there to repair and put the sign. It just had fallen down, so they repaired it and put it up for us, which is very nice. So as far as I know, it is back up and intact.
Wonderful, thanks. Pete, how are you doing on flag inventory?
Go through it tomorrow.
Okay,
I think we might have to order probably, I would say, a half a dozen new ones.
sounds good. Just shoot me a text. I'll get them ordered.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Sarge.
Sure, Steve.
Advisory, Mr. Johnson is not in attendance tonight as he is at a wake, unfortunately. Harbor Management, please. We have Mr. Stedman, and I saw Mr. Romano, although he may not be on my screen right now.
Chairman Romano was going to call in by phone. I don't know if he was able to do that. He's away, and Dr. Pinto is also, he's teaching a class or something. So if you wish, I can give a report, Steve.
Please do, sir.
Well, I guess there's actually a whole bunch of things to talk about. Regarding the Walk Bridge project, we don't have a schedule or know when the DEEP hearing officer may make her final decision. We've asked Mr. Grzywinski, the DEEP analyst, if he knows, and he doesn't know either. But so we don't have any word on that. Last weekend, the public notice published by the Coast Guard requesting public comments on the application by DOT for the Coast Guard bridge permit. The public notice period expired on Saturday, but the harbor, we were able to get in the comments to the Coast Guard by the deadline. And those comments had to do with public safety, and the commission reiterated its previous comments, including the findings of the previous harbor master and the current deputy harbor master, that the passenger boats should not operate in the area between the bridges during the construction unless there's a specific agreement involving the Marine Police, the Coast Guard, and the harbor master. The other comment that we made, which we had made before, is that during the course of the construction work, DOT should involve, just like a contractor on the road would, for road work would, involve the Marine Division for managing traffic and ensuring public safety. And then the other comment that we made is that the Coast Guard should recognize the harbor master's authority to station all vessels in the harbor, and that no vessels can be moored in the harbor without a permit from the harbor master. That statutory authority was not recognized in the DEEP's draft permit. So that's the Coast Guard permit. We have no information about the status of the Eversource project. And DEEP, when we contacted Mr. Grzywinski at DEEP, he didn't know either, which is interesting. So we're still waiting for that permit to be applied for or noticed, both with the Siting Council and DEEP. And then the other part of the regulatory process is the federal permit from the Corps of Engineers, actually 2 permits. And we don't have any information on the status of when they may issue it, when the Corps of Engineers may issue a public notice seeking comments. So there's still quite a bit more to look out for and to review. So that's with respect to the Walk Bridge. The other matter, another matter that and Ms. Washer is here tonight from the Norwalk River Watershed Association and can speak a little bit about this. But if you remember, last year, representatives of the Shellfish Commission and the Harbor Commission met with the Bureau of Aquaculture and also with the Yukon Sea Grant Program at Veterans Park. And we discussed the development of the state's shellfish restoration program, shellfish restoration plan. And as a result of that meeting, and I don't know, can I share my screen? Would that be possible to do? Bill, do I have?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Can you see these images?
Not yet. Now we can.
All right. This was during our meeting a year ago at Veterans Park, where we talked about shellfish restoration and potential projects. And as a result, Norwalk and this area of the harbor is identified in the soon to be published, if not already, it's supposed to be any day now, for public comment, State Shellfish Restoration Plan. So we had talked about a project that would involve planting shellfish, in effect, offshore, and then monitoring, and this would be for the ecosystem services they would provide, not to harvest for food or for consumption, but to see how oysters may grow in a controlled environment. And that's something that we were working on with have been working on with the Bureau of Aquaculture. Subsequent to that, we learned that the city, with at the request of, I believe it's fair to say, and Ms. Washer can correct me, the Harbor Watch program and also the Norwalk River Watershed Association was intended to pursue a grant for enhancing the environment around Betts Park. And she can, Ms. Washer can talk about that, but we've had quite a bit of discussion about that project, and which is intended for funding through the Long Island Sound Futures Fund, which apparently has a good bit of money that's available this year. And the grant applications are due in a couple of weeks. That fund is also a source of money for the shellfish restoration program that we've been talking about, which would involve purchasing shell and then seed oysters to put on top of the shell offshore of the park. So we wanted to make sure that those two projects are coordinated and do not interfere with each other and are mutually supportive. So what we've learned is that the city did not have the time or the resources to put together the application for the grant, so that the Maritime Aquarium, not our grant, but the one about enhancing the edge of the park, the Maritime Aquarium would be putting together that grant and applying for it. So that we talked about that and how that should be brought before the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission for support or comments or opposition, however we want to say that. And the Harbor Commission considered it. We don't have a scope of work, only that it's a feasibility project that would look at how that edge of the park could be enhanced in terms of enhancing, planting new wetland grasses, restoring degraded resource areas. The Harbor Commission, after much discussion last week, agreed to be supportive of the grant, but with a number of understandings, including that if the Maritime Aquarium completes the application, that doesn't imply any transfer of jurisdiction or authority or influence over the city property and the subtidal and intertidal area that the Shellfish Commission and the Harbor Commission have jurisdiction over. So with a number of understandings like that, the commission agreed to support the grant application, including that this is just a feasibility study. It's subject to review by the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission, and it may or may not be something that the commissions agree to, once the feasibility analysis is done. So that's what we talked about, and we asked also that the sponsors of the project come before the Shellfish Commission. And Ms. Washer has been kind enough to provide us with information whenever we've asked her about it, and so she's here tonight and can talk about it. Thanks for letting me go on for so long.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's a great report. I just think in the interest of continuity, without objection, if Ms. Washer would like to speak now, Louise, you're more than welcome.
That was a good synopsis. I'm really here just to answer questions. It's a part, this grant, as Jeff said, would be for just money for a feasibility and alternatives analysis study. So no work would be done. It's just to see, is this edge of the park, is it feasible will it work to do sort of a living shoreline, restore the Spartina grass, improve the habitat for the coastline habitat. Also would have an educational component. And so Alexis, and so the city was going to do this first grant and they're just overwhelmed. So Sarah Crosby, who everybody knows from Harbor Watch, has now moved over to the aquarium. She's doing, I think, 3 other Long Island Sound Futures Fund studies. So she's grant application. So she's just really an expert, and she has generously offered to try to get Norwalk this money for the feasibility study. And then whatever comes out of this study, alternatives analysis and feasibility of what it might look like, would go before the city and the commissions to see if an actual project would go forward. There's $10 million that the Long Island Sound Futures Fund has for this round of grants, and they've reduced the match from the usual 66% to 25%. So it's a great opportunity to get some money for Norwalk to just check out whether or not this is a good idea. And that's really what we are hoping to do. And the Norwalk River Watershed Association, we're just stepping in to sort of help wherever we can, try to get these letters of support together and just support the idea. And it all came out of Jeff, the meeting that Jeff talked about. Dick Harris and I were walking around the harbor because of the industrial rezoning thing. And he told me about it. And I was like, well, there's all this money. Like, why don't we try to do this? So that was the genesis of it. And hopefully would be able to support anything that Shellfish wanted to do in terms of the sister project of a restoration. I mean, it makes sense that they could work together. And that's it.
Thank you so much.
And I think
Louise.
just,
Jeff,
just-
please.
just for what it's worth, when we discussed this about the protocol of similar projects in the future, since this is within the jurisdiction of the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission, we're working out the coordination now, but that coordination is important. When anybody, just like someone building a dock, a private entity, someone proposing a project in the jurisdiction of the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission should consult with those commissions prior to moving forward with it. And I think that, I hope we have an agreement now that will be the case in the future.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks so much, Louise, for coming. Any questions for Louise from the commission? Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. And if, of course, I speak only for the Norwalk River Watershed Association, but if whatever projects you guys end up doing, we will, of course, write a letter of support. I'm excited about both things. So I hope we get money.
Your
Thank you,
excitement
guys.
is always infectious. Thank you,
Oh,
Louise.
sounds great.
Louise,
later.
before you leave, Louise, one other thing, yesterday we met Chairman Romano and Dr. Pinto and I and some others in the city to discuss another grant possibility, not related to this. And the new grant coordinator for the city was present. And she mentioned that and I thought this is what she said, that any grant that affects city property has to be submitted by the city. So maybe you could just clarify all of that if you could, whether the Maritime Aquarium, are they just putting together the grant application and the city would submit it? Or is the Maritime Aquarium going to be submitting it as the grantee?
So
Because-
it's changed a couple times, but originally the city was going to submit it. My understanding now, and I'll double check this, is that the aquarium will submit it, but that it's a partnership. So the grant narrative includes the city, Alexis's, resume is there, and it's a partnership, but I think the aquarium is submitting it. I mean, of course, for any actual construction, for any real project to start, the city would be the applicant. Since this is just a feasibility study and no work's going to be done, I think that's how this can happen.
Thank you. And before we leave the Harbor Management Committee report, I see Chairman Romano's back on. Sir, do you have any comments, questions?
No, I'm gonna defer to Jeff. I'm here at a convention at your daughter's alma mater, Steve,
Beautiful.
at the Oak Hall.
Great. I bought half of that.
I paid for the other half 10 years ago.
Yeah, Jeff.
All right. Are you guys, am I free to go now?
Of course. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, guys. Nice to see you.
You're the
And I
best.
have, and I have to jump too, so I gotta get in there and vote.
I'll stop talking after this, but, and I couldn't participate in your last meeting. I was on the train, but I wanted to mention that I attended the statewide meeting of shellfish commissions, which was, I guess, in the beginning, maybe it was the end of March or beginning of April, and I wanted to report on that. And I went as Steve and Pete had said that I could say that I'm representing the Shellfish Commission as well as the Harbor Commission. And that was up at the Agricultural Experiment Station in New Haven, and it was very interesting. And you all know about the testing program that the Bureau of Aquaculture is responsible for, but there were several presentations about the level of detail that they need to include in their testing. And there was also discussion of the shellfish restoration plan that I mentioned. But then at the end of the presentations, there was like a group discussion where each representative talked a little bit about the issues in their towns. And I mentioned several things, including the recent proposal that we heard that would involve dredging of the natural shellfish bed in an area that's never been dredged before. And the applicant making the argument that it was a relatively minor impact and therefore should be approved. And we discussed the cumulative impacts of that change of looking at dredging applications and considering residential dredging applications the same way as water dependent use applications. So that the other commission representatives from other towns were quite interested in that. And then I also mentioned that the pending court case that originated in Greenwich, where the Superior Court judge ruled that the Harbor Commission has no authority to review and make recommendations concerning deep applications. And now that's waiting for an appeals court decision now. But we talked about that as affecting not just harbor commissions, but also shellfish commissions, because the Harbor Commission's recommendations and authorities, which were supposed to be binding or had been considered binding, if that authority is eliminated, that eliminates a tool that can be used to protect shellfish resources as well. So the other shellfish commissions were quite interested in those topics and asked for additional information. So anyway, that's my report, Steve.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's great that the other commissions are interested, and thanks for spreading that news. It's probably one of the more important things going on.
I'm sorry, did anybody have a view as to whether the idea that dredging new virgin territory was going to be unimpactful?
Well, this involves a project that's still pending in Norwalk, and that was the applicant's assertion.
Right, but did anybody have a view that either affirmed that or raised eyebrows about that?
No, so I don't think anyone outside the applicant has said that it's okay, and the applicant's representatives.
Okay, thank you.
It also is a how do I say this? It's a challenge to the DEP's regulatory program, because the DEP's regulatory program has not considered residential waterfront access structures, residential development to be water dependent uses, and therefore don't have the same priority in the permit process as the uses that are defined as water dependent under the Coastal Management Act. And those include marinas and boat clubs and port facilities and the like. So if this proposal was to be successful and DEEP's authority was challenged and the applicant would win that argument, and of course it's a long way from going to court now, that would set up the situation where every residential property owner would want to dredge, not to have access. And this applicant is arguing that the property owner should have access 24 hours a day. In other words, all stages of the tide. And that's the argument that they're using for the need for dredging this particular area, is to accommodate a bigger, the boat that this current owner does own. And so that changes the whole regulatory process. And I think it's pretty clear that would open up a cumulative impact effect, because every residential property owner, the current understanding of littoral rights and approach to littoral rights is that it's not an absolute right for access for whatever size boat the owner has. Rather, it's a right of reasonable access that's based on the conditions of the particular property. So yes, an individual permit or project may have a relatively insignificant impact, but the impact of upholding a decision to do that is I think everybody that we've talked to agrees that would be a significant change. And especially since the area that would be affected in this instance is a natural shellfish bed that's been designated by the Superior Court in Norwalk Harbor. and has never been dredged in the area that's now being proposed.
Jeff, thank you. That was very thorough and insightful. I appreciate it.
Well, wait till it comes back, and then we'll have another discussion when the applicant comes back.
There will be more for sure. So I would like a motion to accept the committee reports.
Motion to accept the committee reports?
Thank you, Nick. Second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Obviously, none opposed. That carries. With respect to old business, on the agenda, we can ditto the Harbor Management Commission. There's no new news from the DOT with respect to the Walk Bridge nor Eversource. 9 Rowan Inn Avenue, 72 Shorefront Park, and 24 Sable have all been submitted. Another item, as I mentioned earlier on old business, I spoke to Jim Creighton at Deep regarding the Norwalk Yacht Club filtration system. He needs to meet with Sue Jacobson with respect to next steps. He didn't indicate what the menu of steps would be. He did say, however, that if power washing is happening on that property, that water must be collected and transported to a wastewater treatment plant. He mentioned that the investigator was a gentleman by the name of Chris Gerke. I don't have the spelling of the last name. And Mr. Gerke has yet to pull the files, but I'm assuming that this will be part of the discussion between Mr. Creighton and Ms. Jacobson. And I do not have anything else under old business. Commissioners, anything?
Nothing here.
Thank you.
Just quickly, a thank you from me. I know I'm new to this, and I'll hopefully be reaching out to some of you to kind of get a bit of the lay of the land, but I appreciate the welcome earlier, and I look forward to serving with you.
Good luck with your recovery. Take care.
Thank you.
I'd like a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Nick.
Second.
John? Thank you,
Second.
sir. All in favor? The ayes have it. Next meeting is Thursday, June 2nd, 2022 at 19:15 via Zoom. Thank you all.
Okay,
Thank you
Steve.
all. Good, everyone.